All right, today we're going to congratulate Chickeny, the winner of SE Botsu. So let's talk about Chickeny, no longer the greatest to never win a major tournament. So here's the early days of Chickeny. He starts going 2-1 in SE Rhinoa 6, then 0-1 in Triad Wars 8, 1-1 in Barrett, goes 3-1 in TTAC 8 to earn his first icon, and then 0-1 in SE Rhinoa 7. This is his first year of tournaments. He goes 6-5, which incidentally is a very good start. A lot of really good players do not ever make it to 50% in tournaments for a number of reasons. I've talked about this a number of times, but if you think about it, every individual tournament, half of the field goes out in round one. So 50% of the field goes 0%. 25% of the field, half of the remaining, goes out in round two. So they're going to go 1-1, which means 75% of any given field are going to go 50% or worse. And 25% are going to hoard all the wins over 50%. And sometimes, due to activity losses, some of those players don't make it over 50% either, due to, or like getting activity wins in early rounds. Um, so, about a quarter of any tournament is going to actually have a win rate over 50%. And once you start looking for like 3-1 or better, it's going to be at most an eighth of the field, which is really difficult. And so it means there are lots of players. And just imagine like one tournament you draw a pairing, you have a chance to win. One tournament you draw a deli. Like it's really. The other thing is, yeah, you are more likely to draw the best players because the best players have the highest win rate, so they play in the most rounds. So you are the most likely to end up getting paired against them. So it's not just that most of the field is 50% or less, it's also that a lot of your games are not evenly spread among the field. The elimination format means you're playing more of your games against the best players in the field. This is just to say a 6-5 start may not look like particularly notable, but it is actually very, very good. We move to his 2011 to 13 run. He makes his first finals in 2011. Incidentally, there was a few tournaments off between 2010 and the 2011 games, so this is after a little break. He comes back and makes his first finals in TTAC 9. In his three finals, two of them were against Yojimbo, and a lot of the tournaments where he made the semifinals, he also lost to Yojimbo. This first finals, though, he in fact beats Yojimbo in the semifinals, but is defeated by Broccoli in the finals. We see some okay results, and then a 3-1 in TTAC 10, another finals in Quistis with a 3-1, another 3-1 in Triad Wars 11, a 4-2 in Garland, and a 4-1 in Cloud for his third record-breaking finals, becoming the first player to lose in three finals without getting a win, passing, I think Ulti was the first to do it, but I think there was someone else who was on two. And Chickeny ends up setting the record on three, which stands for about a decade. So, really stunningly good run. Also, that many 3-1, 4-1 type results in a row is incredible because it's between 75 and 80%. And like this is like Seto win rates. This is just insanely good win rates. Um, could have very easily won a tournament in there, and a remarkable 26-11 run over a 3-year period. I did miss a couple tournaments in here. I did skip over at the start or end of a period that were slightly less flattering results. But since then, this is, I believe, all his results since then. And you see, like, very good showings. Tournaments are getting shorter, which means there are fewer rounds. So a 2-1 is often semifinals, but it also means more of the rounds are against the Dullies of the world. Um, and again, basically, Chickeny suffered from not being Yojimbo and having Yojimbo play a lot. But other than that, I think he was as good as anyone during this period. In the return of the site, he plays a Nephilim and says, I'm not the player you all think I am, and then lost. But in TTAC 14, he played fantastically. And one of his games, one of his elemental games, is one of the greatest moves I've ever seen. I believe I talked about this in some other video, but that one hasn't come out yet. So there were cards, I think, in 3, 8, and 9, and he finds this unbelievable move in 5, using elements all over the board in fascinating ways. Just an incredibly difficult move to figure out any of what's going on after it. Really fantastic move. It was against Metis. Um, yeah, really special. He makes the semifinals of TTAC 14. One of my favorite semifinals of any tournament ever. I think the Final Four is an incredibly interesting and balanced Final Four. Um, and then he does poorly in Zidane, and then he comes and goes 5-0 in Botsu. And not only does he go 5-0 in Botsu, he takes out 4 winners on the way. He beats oh, I'm not gonna have to count. He beats maybe Turds, Tezuka, Vid, and Akiyama, something like that. Phenomenal run. Just really strong opposition. Went 5-0. And I think if we look at the bracket, I don't have it open right now, and if I check it, it will ruin the video. I think he basically, I don't know if anyone took a game off him, which is also really, really impressive. Um, so I don't consider this tournament win to be from his peak. I think the reason Chickeny is a legend is not because he won this tournament. This tournament is wonderful icing on the cake, and I'm really happy for him. But I think that 2011-13 run, okay, so like obviously the goal is to win tournaments, but the goal is to put yourself in position to get those chips. And he did that so frequently in those golden 3 years that for me, those will be the peak. But this is also really nice to add to the resume. And I really like seeing him join the Winners Club. I think he very firmly deserves to be there and could have gotten there a number of times. So, what's so great about Chickeny's tournament resume? One fun thing is 3 different players hit 50 tournament wins during Botsu, which is just this very rare historical achievement because it takes both playing at length and playing with really high win rates to achieve. And all of Tezuka, Chickeny, I combined that into Tezukani, but Tezuka, Chickeny, and Akiyama all hit 50 wins. Tezuka was the first to do so, and then Chickeny, and then Akiyama. Chickeny, because he won the tournament, ended up getting the most wins and is now the leader of that group in terms of wins. He's on 52 wins, tied with Great Sephiroth. He has 4 finals tied for 9th through 12th, 8 semis tied for 9th through 13th, 12 icons tied for 11th through 13th, 19 wins versus winners. He grabbed 4 here. Now, he's 6th all time. I think he would have been 7th, but still like really up there in the top, firmly in the top 10. He is only behind Turds, Yojimbo, Deli, Seto, and myself for wins versus winners. Achievement is this score I came up with to combine results. You get 1,000 for a championship, 500 for a finals, 250 for a semis, and 125 for a quarters. And he's on 15th all time there. So you can see his overall achievement is just really high. But he's also done this, like, I think he's like 25th or so in tournaments played. And you can see his rates of achieving these things. Maybe he's like 22nd or 3rd, but something like that. His rates of achieving these things are really high because he is significantly higher in actually having gotten these outcomes, these icons and results, than the number of people who have tried that as infrequently as he has. His win rate is 22nd all time, but he also faced really hard opposition. And I think a good way to show that is that over a third of his wins, his tournament wins, so of those 52 wins, 19 of them, over a third, are verse winners. And that is 8th all time and third of players who played like any serious amount of time. Most of the players ahead of him are people who played like 4 tournaments, which is just not very meaningful. So I would say of meaningful people, he has a higher proportion of his wins verse winners than all but 2 other players. Similarly, half of his losses are versus winners. But actually, this is because he drops too many games versus non winners, and as we'll get to in a sec, his win rate versus winners is insanely good. He's at 61% in win rate versus winners, and that's 6th all time. And if you took out his games against Yojimbo, incidentally, he has a higher win rate versus winners than Yojimbo. He's just 1 spot ahead of him, but slightly higher. He would rocket to very high on that list. He's also 7th all time in wins in TTAC closed and Rhinoa tournaments. He has been a very high level performer on teams. I always thought of him as a really fantastic open player, but he's performed even better in formats where closed were included. And his peak world rank by my ELO ratings is 2nd in the world, which he held on and off for a couple years. Yeah. So Chickeny is one of the greats, and I think he has been one of the greats from some time. 2011 he gets his first finals. I don't think 1 finals puts you in those all-time conversations, But once he gets those two more and has that whole 2011-13 run, sometime around 2013, I think he becomes a clear top 20 all time player, and you could argue quite a bit higher. My Hall of Fame score, the three finalists, Vid gets a very slight boost. Losing twice in the finals means the wins. He ends up going 3-2 on the tournament, so it ends up not being that impactful for his score. Akiyama gets a bit of a jump. He ends up passing someone. Slash, maybe? Probably Slash. My number is under 8 slash, but that's okay. And then Chickeny, who was starting a little further back, ends up defeating both of them and gets a jump of around 1.5 points on this score. Winners tend to get about 3 points from the open stuff, and my numbers, just the way I set it up, values the closed a little less. Your mileage may vary. You could put Chickeny quite a bit higher than I'm putting him. This moves him up to 17th all time, passing Karmazin, and just inches, just like 0.08 behind Sujiro. So very close to moving into 16th all time. Um, Personally, I think Chickeny is just thinking about his games. I think that move in 5 was tremendous, and I have seen him play such precise, especially when he was more active. Mostly he plays at a very high level, random closed elemental type stuff now. But I have seen him play such spectacularly good middle games. And I think his calculation is great, and his understanding of what he wants from a middle game position is just tremendously high, of what risks he can take and how to manage that. I think his weakness is and has been sort of hand building into the very early turns of the game, especially first turn. I've seen him make a number of moves I think put him in a lot of danger very early. And when that doesn't happen, I think he is about as good as Triple Triad as anyone is. Like you can take the games we've gotten from him and you can solver them, and they are at a tremendously high level. It's really cool. I really like how Chickeny plays. Um, and he hasn't played as many tournaments as most of the people above him, but he has done phenomenally well when he has. And he has lower win rates than most of the people above him, but this is because he just got paired with the Yojimbos at all of the world over and over and over again. What he did is really, really incredible. But the important thing here is he is not the real winner of Botsu, because he just relinquished the most important title any player could ever have, the greatest player to never win a tournament. He has handed that off. And who takes that title? In my opinion, it is Piggy Man. And it is Piggy Man, in my opinion, by enough of a margin there shouldn't be an argument. There is, of course, an argument. There are some old school legendary players, Ulti and Jadat. There are some sort of middle school legendary players like Kazik, famously also got 2 finals. Again, the record Chickeny broke. Metis has broken Chickeny's record and is the first player to reach 4 finals without a title. And in a recent vote, people did vote Metis as the greatest player to never win a tournament. I think overall, it is Piggyman. I think if you look at his consistency of deep runs, his ability to beat top level opponents, his overall win rate, I would put him ahead of Metis. I understand there is an argument there, and there are these old names that are very important too. But I think the winner of Botsu, sneakily, is Piggy Man, not Chickeny at all. All right, we'll stop there.